Hi everyone, this is Rachel Caruso, MK Ultra survivor and ongoing target from an Illuminati bloodline. This is the start of a mini-series within my expose focusing on one particular event that happened over this summer. So this is one particular event of kidnapping and human trafficking and the police cover-up. This is an in-depth expose, leaving no stone unturned. In this series, you will see my police reports of kidnapping, hate crime, and human trafficking committed by a local bus driver in Totnes and Dartington. And that report also includes identifying local police as perpetrators of the trafficking. And you will see the police and bus companies' obstruction of my reports and cover-up of the crimes. You'll see the police conspiring together with the bus company for the cover-up and for further abuse. You'll hear from their own mouths the police and bus company contradict each other, confessing to video evidence, then turning around to deny it. You'll hear from their own mouths the bus company confess to blacklisting me at the instruction of the police because I filed my report. I went on to file a complaint against the police for how they handled this case, and even that was obstructed. You'll see that in this series. That police complaint even is about abuse of myself. And as I said, that was completely obstructed. You'll also see my complaint to the bus company for their driver's actions completely obstructed. You'll see the bus company illegally ignore my subject access request, also known as SAR, which is a rightful and legal request for a copy of all the information they have about me. Ignoring an SAR is a crime. They only responded after the fact, and once I advised them they would be reported to the appropriate authority, the Information Commissioner's Office. And when they belatedly responded, they refused to comply with my SAR by denying possession of my information, which directly refutes the fact that I had previous recorded conversations with them, as well as the content of those conversations, in which they'd informed me of the information about me they came into possession from the police. In other words, from their own mouths, it was very well established that they had information about me, and that includes having a phone conversation with me. The content of our conversation, the fact that we talked, that's part of that information. And part of that information, why they didn't want to comply, was yes, because of the blacklisting, but also because they had video evidence of the kidnapping, hate crime, and human trafficking by the bus driver. So this is an in-depth expose. I show you every event and conversation for the sake of evidence and transparency. But this also allows you to see the designed systematic manipulation, illustrating their specific tactics and mind control programs used. As MK Ultra, mind control and human trafficking is a complex system with a far-reaching network of coordinated perpetrators. You'll get to witness how this all actually functions. This is how we are globally controlled by the deep state. It's not just me as an MK Ultra target, it's everybody. But there are even more sophisticated techniques and a lot more efforts exerted to control me because I am an MK Ultra target. So to help you navigate the videos, I've broken down the content of each video with timestamps in the description box underneath the videos. You'll find the parts with the most critical evidence are written in all capital letters. So that's just to help you reference back to the video, to give you a table of contents of each video, and to help you return to relevant parts. So keep in mind, one event or conversation sometimes might hinge on being connected to others in order to determine it as evidence of crime. Therefore, to see the whole picture, you'll need to watch each video in order. Nonetheless, there is evidence in many videos which on its own is damning. But to see and understand the big picture and how everything fits together and the expansiveness of the crimes, you will have to, of course, complete the series. I hope this is eye-opening for you to see how the system of total control over people, both the individual and our collective, operates. I hope it's eye-opening to help you see the fact that evil does not exist in a far-off land. It's next door. It might even be in your own home. Because we have let it rule our world. We must realize what is wrong so we can take action to correct it. To speak on the subject of evil itself is not to create fear, but to not discuss evil is to bury your head in the sand. It's to avoid and ignore, deny truth. It's to live in a delusion. We are all going to experience disorder and dis-ease when we live with delusion, when we live in opposition to truth. We must understand our reality in order to know how to navigate it with our personal truth and with power. If you turn away from truth, if you bury your head in the sand, you have given away your power, and thus the evil will continue to reign. So by tuning into this series and this channel in general, exposing the evil, and by using your critical mind and witnessing the evidence of evil, you take back your power. Once you have the truth, once you have information, you get to decide how to correct this evil on our planet. You get to decide how to take your power back even further. And how we do that is a conversation for another time, and that's actually more of the kind of content I have on my YouTube channel that's called Rachel Caruso, my name. That channel is about spirituality and consciousness. So that platform is about healing and taking back our power completely within this labyrinth of evil, and you can pair that with witnessing the facts for yourself, witnessing evil in action with these videos here on my whistleblower platform. So first up in this series is my account of the kidnapping that took place on July 28th, 2020. And I'll put all of these videos of this series in a playlist. And if you're seeing this on BitChute, sometimes I've had trouble with creating BitChute playlists. So, hoping that there's no trouble, the playlist will be in the description box of every video, both on YouTube and BitChute. If I do have trouble creating a playlist, I'll simply put the link to every video in the description box below so that you can see how many videos make up this series, because I don't even know how many it's going to end up being yet, and it's probably something that's it might be ongoing. So I don't want you to end up stopping halfway through thinking that's the end. So check out the playlist or the description box that will have every video of the series listed under each video. So thank you for being here, for tuning in, and now we'll go to the events of that kidnapping, human trafficking, and hate crime committed by the local bus driver. And today I'm looking at the date, July 28th, 2020, I was not just harassed, but the victim of kidnapping by a bus driver here in Dartington and Totnes. Let me just confirm the time with you. Hopefully you can see my screen just fine. So there you have it. It's 4:57 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th. And so I'm going to briefly explain what happened, and then I'm going to call the police. And interestingly, there are these speakers here you can see
that are connected to this TV, and it's like set up to be a smart TV with some kind of Amazon program. And these speakers, so it works with Alexa, and the speakers turn themselves on all the time. So they're connected to the Wi-Fi. So as long as the Wi-Fi is on, they will spontaneously turn on. You'll hear a chime or a beep if they turn on. So just a heads up in case that happens, but keep your ears open for that noise, because obviously everyone knows what's happening with these smart speakers and the Alexa technology. It's monitoring you, and all kinds of things happen as a result from the data and intel collected on you by the speakers. So I am going to tell you what happened with the bus driver, and then I'm going to call the police, and we'll go from there. So what happened today with this bus driver, I don't know his name. He's in his 50s. He's got light gray hair. He's kind of clean cut looking. He's got a goatee, shorter hair, and white British, and slightly, he's not heavy set, but he's slightly heavy, as the average middle-aged man in the UK might be. And so he, there was some strange behavior from him before. So this is the bus line that's called the country bus, and I took a return, or two-way as we call it in America, from Dartington to Totnes. And so he was the driver for both journeys, and I've had him before, and some really strange behavior from him. And first of all, I can't go through all the strange behavior. That's not what I want to include in this video, but it was definitely manipulative, and I shut it down. Mark Ninja. I was able to shut it down with confidence. But something was telling me there's something seriously wrong with this man. He's a predator. He's actually very dangerous. So a sociopath or a psychopath, not just a narcissist. And so today I had a mask. I had one of these masks on the way up, because of the indoctrination of this bus driver from previous times, and how much he has harassed me, and false information he gave me. So he had me actually believing that he could enforce making passengers wear a mask, and he can deny them entry, and so he, before, it was at least once or twice, he tried to give me lectures, even though one time I said, the first time I was I didn't know, and I honestly didn't know that this was suggested on buses. They're not authorized. Nobody is authorized to enforce this. And in the UK, if the mask gives you distress, you are exempt, period. That's all there is to it. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to have signed papers from any fake authorities. So as you can see, I'm on the UK government website. This was last updated on July 25th, first published on May 12th. And so this is about safe travel. And coming to the face coverings, since July, I believe it was July 15th, or maybe, June 15th even, face coverings on public transportation became mandatory. But like I said, there's no real way to enforce it, and there are people who are exempt from it. And so also, more recently, in the past week, they started making face coverings mandatory in all shops, as you can see here. Now let's come to the exemptions. Some people don't have to wear a face covering, including for health, age, or equality reasons. And now they don't actually go into all of these reasons. And this was not, the last time I checked this was not a part of the guideline. So I checked this a few days ago, right? And it showed you that it was updated on the 25th. And it says you can choose show a card given to you to prove that you are exempt. There is no requirement to do this, though, and if you rely on an exemption, transport staff should not ordinarily ask for evidence. And yeah, none of the bus drivers are wearing face masks themselves, including this one who harassed me for it. So let's go to the legitimate reasons not to. I'm sure it's the same as this link here. Legitimate reasons not to wear a face covering. If you have a physical or mental illness or impairment or disability, that means you cannot put on, wear, or remove face covering. If putting on, wearing, or removing a face covering would cause you severe distress. And so there's all these other reasons as well. So when we get to the detail of exemption cards, some people may feel more comfortable showing something that says they do not have to wear a face covering. This could be in the form of an exemption card, badge, or even a homemade sign. Look at that. This is a personal choice and it is not necessary in law. So this is important because today I wore the mask on the first journey from Dartington to Totnes because I didn't want to deal with any bullshit, and I didn't know there wasn't all that detail on the website the last time I checked it a few days ago. So I was like, how are they going to enforce this exemption and the fines? And being a TI, I knew that I was very vulnerable to the power of authority being abused against me and everything being manipulated. So, I thought it would be easier just to wear the mask, even though the whole thing gives me fucking distress. Like just the law existing and the possibility that because I'm a TI, that I could be harassed or injured or anything, trafficked for not complying to these false regulations and false authority. But I saw somebody that I knew in the food shop when I got to Totnes, and she wasn't wearing a mask. And I said, oh, nobody stopped you to harass you about it yet? And she said, no. And so we had a short conversation about it, and she said, all you have to do is say that you're exempt. She's been watching other people do it. And she, at first, she saw somebody else come out of a shop not wearing anything, and she was like, how did you do it? And so, that's just how we learn from the community. Brave people, just taking their own sovereignty and claiming their own sovereignty. And then other people observe it, witness it, and we have conversations about it. And so we also talked about how, the more secure and true that you feel in your sovereignty, then that will be reflected to you. If you're doubting or not confident in your sovereignty, then there's wiggle room for manipulation to come through. And so after that, I went into another shop without a face covering, and it was a small shop, and the woman didn't say anything to me. She didn't ask me any questions. Then I went to catch the bus, and I didn't have the face mask on. Now, the driver let me on without saying anything. I should say that whenever I got off the first time, he was trying to say something weird to me. Like I could just feel it was manipulation and it was creepy. You'll feel it in your body. Your natural primal instincts will inform you of danger. And it was after I actually stepped off the bus, he didn't close the doors, and he's trying to talk to me, like after I'd already left. But he says, I'm disappointed. What? And I didn't let him finish. I didn't even look at him. Didn't even let it register that I heard him. I just walked on. I'm like, I'm not feeding into whatever this manipulation is about to be. Like, this isn't anything to do with, necessary conversation about bus travel. I was already off the bus. So obviously this was something personal that he was trying to target me for. And he wants to tell me about something he's disappointed. And I can guarantee you it was going to be something about me, which is especially why, I just walked and I just walked away. And so that was strange. And that was our last interaction. And on these country buses, there's usually only one passenger, maybe two. The bus certainly journeys without any passengers. And so I was the only passenger then. I was the only passenger when I got on to return back to Dartington. And he let me on. He took my ticket. He had to punch a hole in it. He gave it back to me. and the journey is about like 5-7 minutes. And whenever I go to get off, it's only once I've come to the door, he won't open it. And then he berates me for not wearing a mask and saying that he won't let me on next time. And he said this before too. And the bus, I learned that the buses, they have no authority to do that. And you just saw that bit on the UK website, but I was also reading information on like a Facebook group page, a community page, where people are saying that the bus drivers, like they know bus drivers, and they're saying that their training is actually not to challenge anybody about a face mask. Don't ask anybody. So it's not only that you don't have to have evidence, you shouldn't be questioned about it. And so this is the third, at least the third time this man has tried to berate me about the face mask. Even like on the second time I said, well, it was the first journey, second time that he berated me. And I said, I didn't know, I'll wear a scarf next time. And he like couldn't accept that. He was going to go on about something else. And I just got off the bus and again, wouldn't look at him. This is a serious predator. Like he's relentless. And then today when he's berating me, I said, I'm exempt. Like I just stayed calm and said, I'm exempt. And he said, where's your exempt card? And I said, that's not how it works. And he said, yes, it is. And I said, I need to get off the bus. Let me off. And he just kept berating me. And I kept repeating, this is a very useful technique when you're dealing with a narcissist, anybody who won't listen to you. And it's generally usually a narcissist, but any narcissist, you just calmly repeat what you need until they heed you or until something happens, like something in their psyche will crack. And so I kept repeating, let me off the bus. I need to get off the bus. You have no right to detain me. Let me off the bus. I need to get off the bus. You have no right to detain me. And he wouldn't budge though. So sometimes you do have to go a step beyond that repetition. And the whole time he's talking over me, berating me. And so I didn't raise my voice. It was just firm and strong like it is now. And we were stopped. The bus stop was in front of the Cot Inn. So it's like this famous, inn and restaurant and pub and whatnot. And so there are plenty of people outside, maybe 10 to 15 yards away. I'm a bad judge of distance. About 10 to 15 yards away, just across the parking lot. We pull up right at the parking lot. And so at that point, I'm like, I need to make a commotion to make the driver uncomfortable so that he'll let me off the bus. This is a dangerous situation. Already we have false imprisonment, but also kidnapping, because kidnapping is imprisonment with the intent to move the victim or imprisonment to receive a ransom. And the technicalities are debatable in any court of law, and they can vary from country to country, but that is kidnapping. So it's not even attempted kidnapping, but kidnapping, because we were on a moving vehicle and I didn't know if he was going to let me off or if he was going to take me away. He was a violent, volatile predator, as we've already established this pattern. And so I start to knock as loud as I can on the doors to get the attention of the bystanders so that they know something is happening. And, there's the bystander effect, as it's called, which is the phenomenon, unfortunately, of people not doing anything when they know something wrong is happening for a variety of reasons or excuses, like they think someone else will, or, they didn't think it was their place to stop violence or whatever. So that's the bystander effect, when people know something bad is happening and they don't step in, they don't report it, they couldn't care less, they just watch, like they're watching a movie. And nonetheless, when you make a commotion or you bring attention to the public, it makes the perpetrator uncomfortable. It makes them worried. And so it was only after maybe 10, 15 raps, my knuckles were sore, that he was still berating me, and he was saying, "You're a spoiled brat." As soon as I started knocking, he said, "You really are a spoiled brat." And he starts spewing insults at me. And I'm not feeding into any of that. I'm just facing the door, knocking and saying, "Let me out, let me out, let me out." And then about 10, 15 raps after, he finally opens the door, and I step out, and everybody is staring. Nobody says anything, though. And the driver, as he starts to drive away, he leaves the doors open, and he screams after me, "Go back to America!" So, I mean, and at that point, like, he needed, even with witnesses, he still needed to have, like, this last word, to have the last assault. Like, you're not free. Like, maybe I opened the doors, but you're not free. I'm going to harass and insult and belittle you more. And, you know, and this is also, it goes deeper, this kind of insulting, because this is regarding my nationality. So you can even call it a hate crime. And so I was like, a part of me was like, don't respond at all. Don't respond at all. But another part of me was like, fuck it. And I flicked him off. I don't think he saw. There was like a second hesitancy, and he was zooming off. If anybody saw it, it was the bystanders. But so that was more for me than anything. So I am about to call the police and report this. Now, every time I call the police, it is manipulated. The police are not a source of safety or anything, lawfulness for a TI, especially for an MK Ultra TI. For me, every time, dozens of times, I have had to interact or tried to interact with the police. They have contributed, they have participated in my trafficking. So in extreme manipulation, mind control, misrepresentation, and abuse of the law and of their authority. So nothing is going to happen, which is why I'm recording this. A lot of times, even when I make a report, there's no record of it. There's absolutely no record. So we're going to make a report today, and you're going to see it. I know they're going to play so many mind games with me, and I'm going to have a hard time staying clear to express the reality. That's just my history with the police. The police are a PTSD trigger. And, you know, I've endured a lot of mind control about the law and the fake authority of the police. So I can be self-doubting about the law. Or if I can't like state what article of the law something's from, they'll just make something up. They'll be like, no, that's not the law. Like if somebody punched me, they'd say, that's not assault. Or assault, what they did isn't against the law. Or assault's not against the law. I mean, things like that. And so I can only expect more of that. And of course, as soon as I try to make the call, I have no reception. All right, we got a little bit.
Thank you for calling 101. We're connecting you to Devon and Cornwall Police. We will answer your call as promptly as possible. Please hold. Have to speak to someone about a new crime or new inquiry. Please press or say to provide or receive an update. You'll now hear 6 options. As soon as possible. Alternatively, you can chat live with a member of our team using our web
That was the
chat
speakers.
facility, which can be found on the homepage of our website.
Just turned it off. And in reality, this should be a 999 call. But I've been through so much with the police before, I know they always tell me, oh, that's not 999. Like, I'm reporting attempted murder and everything. Oh, that's not 999. So they'll tell me if the crime isn't happening in real time, then I need to call the non-emergency number. When you have a predator going around driving a public bus trying to kidnap people, that's a continuing emergency. So it should be 999. I'm aware of that. That's their emergency number, the equivalent of 911 in America. But I just know that how they would manipulate me. They do it every time. All right, so I paused the recording as I continue to be on hold. Trying to show you it's been 13 minutes, and I decided I am going to stick up for the truth and real justice. This should be an emergency call because this is a violent predator who was also set off, who is driving public transport right now. And so I'm going to hang up and call 999. I'm just going to confirm the date and time with you again. All right.
Which can be
Here we
found
go.
on the homepage of our website.
So that confirms I've been on hold this whole time. Hung up. And calling 999.
Emergency service.
Hi, I need to report attempted kidnapping on public transportation.
You want the police or the ambulance?
I'm sorry?
You want the police, yeah?
Police, please.
You are connected to the police service. We are receiving a high volume of emergency calls. We will answer your call as soon as possible. Emergency calls like yours are given the highest priority.
I can't believe you have to wait.
Hold the line, please, Mark. You're waiting for the police to answer.
Okay, thanks.
Please stay hold on. Please answer.
Okay.
Police receiving a high volume of calls in your area. Please continue to hold.
Okay, that's really concerning that there's so many 999 calls right now.
Please, emergency, go ahead, operator. Connected mobile 07788. Thank you. Go ahead, caller. What's the emergency?
Hi, I need to report attempted kidnapping by an operator of public transportation.
Right, okay. Are you safe at the moment?
I am now, yes.
Right, okay. When did this happen?
At 3:55 p.m. today.
Right, okay. In that case, because you're safe at the moment, we do need to take a report and give you some advice. If you call us back on 101, my colleagues will be able to give you some help and advice, all right?
I feel it's an emergency for the rest of the public, since this is the driver of the public transportation.
Right, okay. Well, it's not something that's ongoing at the moment, so we will deal with it on a 101 line, all right? I can't deal with it on a 999, okay?
Okay, that's really concerning, but I'll call 101 and pray for the public.
Thank you.
So that was weird. I was just showing you that the call was continuing on. The call was continuing on after she said thank you. So I was still connected. And so, like I said, as I predicted, even though this is an emergency and it's a serious crime, that because it's not happening to me at this second, that I have to wait on 101 again. And so I was on hold for almost 2 minutes with the emergency number. I mean, thank God somebody wasn't like breaking into my house with a knife trying to stab me. So here we go, calling 101 again.
Thank you for calling 101. We're connecting you to Devon and Cornwall Police.
That was weird.
Welcome to Devon and Cornwall Police. Report found property or make a...
Alright, so I don't have a lot of storage, and this recording device or this recording app uses a lot of storage. So I'm going to not record while I wait on hold, but I'll be able to show you the amount of time that I've been on hold if I don't get disconnected. And so I'll just say how strange it is that on 5:44 p.m. on a Tuesday in the idyllic town of Totnes, well, I mean, so it is the Devon and Cornwall police. So I don't know how they divide up the calls based on your region. You would think they would use your region to divide up the calls. I don't know why there would be such a high amount of calls to both 101 and 999 emergency calls of crimes currently happening, unless they're all calling about people not wearing masks in the store. That's a bad joke. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording and pick it back up whenever I get an answer.
We apologize.
It might be a long time.
Whilst our team...
Confirming the date and time with you. It is 6:45 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. I was on hold for an hour, and then my call got disconnected just now. So now I'm going to try reporting it online. So this is for the Devon. All right, so I'll go ahead and fill out the online form instead. Someone is in danger, but I know that if I say someone's in danger, it's just going to stop me and say call 999. When I called 999, they said call 101. So we're going to have to say no. Am I reporting fraud? No. Am I reporting lost property? No. Vehicle accident? No. Continue to the form. Did you hear it? Chime again. Am I reporting a crime on behalf of someone else? No. On behalf of a business? No. Oh, that's scary. This is supposed to be a private, this is the Brave browser, and it's in private browsing mode, and it has stored my name. I'm going to give a fake name. Give similar birth dates so that I can remember it. So the month and year is correct. The day is off a little bit. I'm going to write down what I put so I remember. I wonder if it will take this with just initials. Lights, another background. I'm not gonna say. It's telling me this is required. A fake postcode to use. And by the way, I have an IP scrambler on, so it actually looks like I'm coming from America if they are to track my IP address. They're going to know it's me by giving my phone number. I gave my phone number, moved on, gave my email address. What is your preferred method of contact? I mean, that's tricky. I chose email because then I'll have evidence of the correspondence in writing. However, it's more telling to have a manipulative person on the telephone having a live conversation, and especially in person. But in person, I'm not going down to the station where I was assaulted before, and I'm not having them over at my apartment. So that's not an option. The issue with telephone is they could call whenever I'm out and I don't have the camera on, so I wouldn't be able to record it. So we're going with email. And have I been a victim of crime in the last 12 months? Yes. Trafficking, assault by police. Do you think the crime was committed because of your disability, gender identity, race, religion, belief, or sexual orientation? Yes. I've thought about this before. Patriarchal abuse, such as, sex slavery, by the Freemasons, by our patriarchal Illuminati and cabal. It's targeting essentially, it's targeting the masculine energies, period, and men, people who identify with the gender of men. But specifically, though, the whole goal is to oppress the feminine. And that's not to say that if men are targeted, it's not a hate crime because of their gender within sex slavery. So essentially, if you are targeted because of your gender to fulfill this agenda of perversing the sexual energies and roles and what have you on our planet, then that is a hate crime. You're targeted because of your gender. They've had to get more PC recently because it used to just be gender. And now it's gender identity. So let's go ahead and hit yes. And yes, I did call and you disconnected me. Deep State disconnected me. All right, next form. Someone currently abusing or neglecting you. I'm laughing because I'm like, do I answer this honestly? Let's try this, and this. So this is kind of getting messy because it's intertwining today's attack with my whole human trafficking history, but that's what we're going with. Going with the truth. You know what? I would like education on the local law so they can't manipulate me anymore. Accommodation housing, can't put that because I'm not going into government housing again. So that's like puts you deeper into government trafficking. And well-being, access to services, perception of safety. How are they going to help me with that? And empowerment and self-esteem. They're really going to build my self-esteem? Doubt it. And yes, financial compensation. It's self-defense classes. Where did the incident happen? On a bus from Totnes to Dartington. When did it happen? 3:45 p.m. to 3:55 p.m. today, the whole journey. They do their dates backwards in the UK. So July 28th, were there any injuries? Well, yeah, of trying to bang on the glass so that the bus driver would let me out. All right, and here we get to what happened. Let me pause while I take this out. So what happened? I am a victim of organized crime and human trafficking. I was born into an international trafficking ring, which my family was a part of. There are constant attempts to kill me, harm me, and manipulate my life, including assault, imprisonment, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, public smear campaigns, blackballing, and more. Today, I was kidnapped by a bus driver, and the pattern of targeting and abuse is in keeping with that of my traffickers. On previous bus journeys with this man, he went out of his way to initiate conversation on a bizarre topic specifically related to the trafficking ring. Now, let me tell you about that. I was sat in the back of the bus. Now, granted, the country buses are a little bit shorter than like the big city buses, but you know, like a dozen rows back, all the way at the back, and I'm the only person on the bus, and he's trying to talk to me, so he's like shouting at me, and I couldn't hear him, and I felt like obliged to be polite, to move closer to talk with him, even though my radar was going off a little bit at this time. But he does present himself as a very clean-cut, upstanding man. So, you know, I had some self-doubt. And so just to make the social situation a little bit easier, I moved forward so that I could hear him. But, and I gave like cursory responses, but what he was talking about was the founder of Mormonism. And seriously, I'm drawing a blank on his name. That happens with, with trauma, PTSD. But yeah, so Mormonism is definitely a part of Satanism. You could say actually it's a branch of Satanism. And my mother's family are generationally Mormons. And so, I mean, we were Illuminati, Freemasonry, we're from the Merovingian bloodline. And so, you know, I continued to be abused in the context of the Mormon church throughout my life. And so he's talking about the founder of Mormonism, and it didn't make any sense. And then he segues into like this poem by somebody else. And I was like, that's poetry from the founder of Mormonism? And he was like, no, it's Sir Somebody. And he said it was a poem that he had written when he was held captive and was about to be executed. It was like the last poem he wrote. And he was like, oh, it's really great. You should read it. You should look it up. And he repeated the name to me a couple times. And I just feigned interest. I wasn't interested. And I couldn't even fully hear him still. And, you know, I think this might have even been during the COVID, after the COVID scare started. So like the first sections of seats are marked off so that you can't be within 5 or 6 feet of the driver, right, for that social distancing. So before, masks were required on public transportation in the UK, but so I couldn't hear him, but he was like insistent. He talked on and on for the whole journey, which was about 10 minutes. And I just gave a couple like, oh, really interesting. I gave those kinds of answers. And it was bizarre, obviously. And looking at the details of the topics that he initiated in this bizarre context, Mormonism, and I mean, I'm sure there's a deeper association with this man who was famously executed, and like the way he described it, he was like falsely executed for unjust reasons, and he didn't even have a segue from one topic to the next. to the degree where I thought he was talking about the founder of Mormonism was writing poetry about being executed. So that's what I'm talking about in here. So it does look like he is a part of this bus driver whose name I do not have. I'll give a description here, but it's looking like he is a part of the Illuminati and was targeting me. Back to what I have written here. However, other than that and the pattern of behavior, I do not have any solid evidence which makes it clear that today's kidnapping was related to my traffickers. I got a return ticket from Dartington to Totnes on the country bus number 165. The driver was a man who I've ridden with before and who has harassed me before. On the first journey today, the driver said nothing until I exited the bus. So I was on the sidewalk when he kept the doors open to start talking to me. From previous incidents with him, I knew to keep my distance, so I did not acknowledge him and just walked away. What he had begun to say is, "I'm disappointed." Clearly, this wasn't any kind of professional communication. On the return journey, he let me on the bus, taking my ticket to punch a hole in it, and said thank you to me even. He said nothing as we rode back to my stop at the Cot Inn. I pushed the button to be let off there, and he stopped. But I walked to the front, and he refused to open the doors. He started to berate me for not wearing a mask, saying that he could fine me or not let me on next time. And of course, like, that's all of that's false. The whole pretense for his kidnapping is based on lies and deception and delusion. I calmly said I was exempt. He said, "Where's your card?" I responded, "It's not required," and he argued it is. At that point, I told him I needed to get off the bus. He wouldn't listen, shouted over me more harassment, and kept the door shut. I repeated several times, "I need to get off. Let me off. You have no right to detain me." For about 30 to 45 seconds, he continued to shout over me and barricade me in. I was panicked and didn't think I might be able to physically pull the doors open, but I also have wrist and hand injuries on both sides, by the way. That would have made that difficult. So I wrapped the door with my knuckles nonstop to get the attention of the customers and employees outside the Cot Inn who could see and hear the bus in clear view. I'm going to say dozen. I'm going to be specific. There were plenty of people. There were plenty of witnesses to this. The driver got more enraged and raised his voice even more, calling me names. Among all of that, I remember him calling me spoiled brat. And there were other things too, but I was just like focused on getting the fuck out of there rather than listening to his insults. Eventually, about 20 seconds later, I believe because I was drawing attention of the witnesses who were now staring, he opened the doors and I stepped off. As he drove away, he kept the doors open and screamed to me, he said, "Go back to America. My country of origin," is what I wrote here. It's very likely the witnesses heard it. He screamed it so loudly. I was imprisoned, intimidated, and verbally assaulted, and it's evident it was all premeditated because the driver defrauded me to believe he had no issue with me riding. Therefore, he transported me with the intent to imprison me, which is kidnapping. More to his premeditated intent. He knew from our exchanges when he'd harassed me previous times, including my first journey today, that I would not stand around to receive it. On a previous occasion, he tried shouting at me for not wearing a mask once he'd opened the doors and I began to exit, and I just walked away. His failed attempts to interfere with me is why this time he defrauded me to believe. I'm going to add a part here. His failed attempts to interfere with me when I could freely move around is why this time he defrauded me to believe he would not create an issue, even acting polite as I boarded. It's also clear he intended to try to get me alone to abuse me because of the fact he didn't say anything when there were plenty of witnesses around, plenty of closer witnesses around. At the Totnes bus stop, including other bus drivers, because that is something that intimidated him from abusing me there. But he waited until I was standing next to him trying to exit. Like usual, so he waited until I was close to him. So that proximity is very threatening in this context. Like usual, I was the only passenger on the bus the entire time. His history of behavior and today's strategic calculated kidnapping illustrate this as a dangerous man. I tried to call 999 afterwards because this predator was driving his route in a hysterical state with the vehicle he uses as a means to target his victims, which made it more likely for him to harm other passengers at that time. However, 999 insisted I call 101 instead. I was on hold for an hour when my call was inexplicably disconnected. This incident also involves a hate crime because I was harassed for my nationality. It's possible that my nationality was part of his motivation to kidnap me, although at this time I cannot say for certain, just like I cannot determine if this attack was related to my trafficking. The man was in his 50s, white British, light gray hair, shorter hair with a mustache and goatee. He was average weight, and I can't say much to his height since he was sitting down. He drove the number 165 country bus, and although when he arrived 10 minutes late for my first journey in Dartington at 2:07 p.m., so the bus was due at 1:57 p.m., he had 167 displayed, like they have the lights, the numbers lit up on the outside, and he had 167 on. And I had to point it out for him to correct it. All right, so that's it. And then I included the bus information, when it asks about the make and model of the vehicle related to the crime. All right, did you or anyone else witness the crime? Yes, the employees and customers at caught in possible other passersby. I think that's the word. Passersby. Yeah. Do you know who the offender is and if they're local? I mean, I know somewhat. Well, I mean, he has to be local, but I don't know his name. Please describe the person who was seen to commit the crime. The man was in his 50s, white British, light gray, short hair with a mustache. Same thing as I wrote before. And I said he drove the 165 bus, although when he arrived 10 minutes late for my first journey, he had it as 167. And I said, I have known him to regularly drive this route since I have ridden it for about 10 months. And interesting that they already had checked, don't know. Do you think the offender was under the influence of drugs or drink? Don't know. Was it on CCTV? I doubt that the country bus has CCTV. The bigger bus lines in the local area do, but this is a smaller one. So yeah, there's that, and I don't know if any CCTV from the caught in would have captured it. So next, restorative justice. I have no idea what the fuck this is. All right, so restorative justice is apparently like mediation. So they're telling me like, and they don't even say why they're telling me about this. They're just saying that there is this thing called restorative justice. It's basically just mediation. Okay, next question. Would you like support to help you cope and recover? And I said, yes. Will I accept it? Probably not. But you know what? Let's give them rope to hang themselves with. They won't provide it. I've been through this before. Do you have any existing support in place? I answered, honestly, no. Oh, well, I have God. And are there any additional needs the victim care unit needs to be aware of in order to make contact with you? Protecting my identity is essential for my security and safety given my extensive and ongoing trafficking background. Some of my perpetrators, unfortunately, have included local law enforcement. Tell the truth, baby. As if you're entitled to more information about restorative justice, would you like to be provided with this? Now, am I interested in it? No. But am I interested in being educated? Yes. And just more information and education helps you to unearth all the tendrils of the deep state. So yes, I want an opportunity to learn more about how the deep state is functioning and the supposed laws set in place, which no one ever follows when it comes to the deep state. All right, next. And this is just reviewing everything. Oh, I didn't put any spaces like I typed. That's unfortunate. All right, submit. And it has been submitted. The information will be reviewed and we will be in touch in due course with either a crime number or to request further details if necessary. So they don't give a timeline, like what's due course? Do they have a time that they aim for? 1 to 3 working days? Nope, it's vague. So that it could, in my instance, they could manipulate this. Narcissists love vague information because they can just manipulate it to mean whatever they want from one day to the next. So if I were to call to follow up on this, they could say, oh, well, in due course, yeah, it can take us a month to get to cases, So the crime number is how you track the investigation, if they're going to investigate it, and if they are, what's happening with it. All right, so it is 8:30. I've spent the past like 3 hours, 2.5 hours trying to report this and record everything. Damn, I'm tired. All right, so I guess I got everything. And thanks for being here and for following my chronicles of MK Ultra trafficking, which today included kidnapping. And, you know, it took me a little bit to get clear on the events that happened because I am a victim of such severe and long-term gaslighting. You know, and there's MK Ultra programming, so the programming itself is like mind fuckery, yeah. But when you get specifically to the element of gaslighting, where your reality is always manipulated, and you're always told that what you experience isn't real, or what you experience isn't what you think it is. So I had to actually spend some time reflecting on what happened, and I even externalized it, verbalized it whenever I started to make a video. And I realized it wasn't, I thought it was attempted kidnapping because I could recognize he falsely imprisoned me. And there's like the element of transportation with kidnapping, either transportation or ransom, to legally make imprisonment kidnapping. And I was like, well, we were on the bus, so there was a potential for transportation. So that would have made it attempted kidnapping. But actually, because he transported me with the intent to imprison me, which happens once we reach the cot in, once I press the button to get off, that is the kidnapping. So yeah, and then you also have the hate crime because of my nationality. Him telling me to, like, him actually harassing me because of my nationality, telling me to go back to America. And by the way, that is a just unanimous MK Ultra program that's been used on me, especially since I've been in the UK. I was entered into the fraudulent asylum system and National Referral Mechanism, which is the UK's, they claim it's to support victims of human trafficking when in fact it is a means of human trafficking, just like the global asylum system. So, you know, I've been in a few countries in the last few years since I left America. Romania, well, first France, Romania, Greece, and then the UK. And it has been mostly, maybe only in the UK, that I've gotten this program from street theater with gang stalking, something like, well, in our country, we do it like this, or this means this, like just really, really condescending things. And or, you know, go back to your country, or, well, I don't know about where you're from, but here, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So this was the same pattern of all Illuminati abuse. So yeah, there's that. And I think I've covered everything today. So thank you for tuning in to get to know the inner workings of MK Ultra abuse and trafficking, and what it looks like from the inside to live with it day to day, and how they manage to execute MK Ultra undetected by the public. Now you've seen it, now you know. Now it's not undetectable anymore. I'll see you in the next video.